Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Second Act Actors. I'm your host, Dr. Janet McMordie, and I'm still a medical doctor, simultaneously trying to pursue a career in acting. My guests this week, yes, you heard that right, plural, guests. There are two. You're getting 2 for 1 this week. My guests this week are Richard Cambridge and Darren Darnborough. These two gentlemen are the creators of WeAudition. What is WeAudition, you ask? WeAudition is an online platform for self-taping and finding yourself a reader for either self-tapes or working on sides or just working on scripts, classwork, whatever you need. It is literally the Uber of self-tape and readers. You can find a reader 24/7 from anywhere around the world. Now, I think y'all know this by now with my podcast. This is a passion project. I'm not sponsored by anyone. I'm not sponsored by WeAudition or anything like that. I just really believe in this website, probably because I have used it multiple times and I booked a tape off of it. Darren and Richard, like I said, are the creators, and they have wonderful stories to tell, not only about WeAudition and the creation of it, but also their own stories as actors as well. The thing that struck me the most about this conversation, I mean, besides talking about this incredible platform, is what has come from this platform. It's not just a great resource for actors, but it's an incredible community for actors. I touch on this all the time on this podcast. Those of us who are second act actors usually didn't go to theater school. We don't have a community of people that we can bother for self-tapes, but this provides that. WeAudition provides that. It provides a community of like-minded actors who genuinely want to help you with your self-tapes and with your auditions. So you can stop harassing your roommates, stop harassing your partner, stop harassing your mom and dad who really don't want to help you with your self-tape. Get on WeAudition and find people who actually genuinely want to help you. Please enjoy the incredible story of the WeAudition creators, Richard and Darren. You're in LA. Oh, good morning.
You're in Toronto, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Someone across the world. We've really spread it out.
We're covering the 3 biggest international film and television markets today. Yeah. LA, Toronto, London.
Wait, there's a film and TV market in LA?
I know, weird.
You would think not right now. You'd think not.
Oh, I heard it's all robots down there.
They're doing good work in the good trade in shoes, sneakers, and those long poles. They're selling like hotcakes. They're selling a lot of those right now.
What poles are they?
Sunscreen.
Oh, the poles, yeah.
And sunscreen, sneakers.
Ice.
They're getting worn down.
Oh, what a world!
I'm not joking.
Oh, it's what a world, right? My goodness. Well, yeah. I don't know if you want to do this, each of you, because I'm curious to hear both of your individual stories about how you kind of got into this world of acting and just entertainment industry before we dive into how you two brought WeAudition to this planet.
I'm happy to do it individually. You want to go down, or I can talk, whatever.
Go ahead, Rich. Go ahead.
Darren's got to wake up. So I've always had another job as well as being an actor. I started being an actor when I was at school. I did a commercial when I was at school, and it really got me the bug when I was doing amateur dramatics. And then I sort of always wanted to do it and continued to do it professionally. So I started out when I was young, quite a while ago. But I've always had a side job. I've always started to do other things. And people always say you need to have a side hustle, something else to do, something to fall back on, which is always the thing. I started making websites very early, started doing tech very early as a day job. So I've always been an actor. But sometimes, some years I've paid the bills being an actor, and often I have not paid the bills being an actor. I've always been auditioning and had an agent and being in the game, but never, well, some years, less than, more. I haven't paid all of my bills doing that. So I've always had a day job, and that was doing freelance, making websites, making technology, specializing video on the internet. So what happened is I was doing that freelance, and I met Darren through a mutual friend, and we kind of decided to do WeAudition, and that actually brings together my technical background, which I was doing as a day job previously, and my acting. And so then they're now one world. I now don't do websites for other people commercially. I don't do that. I just concentrate on WeAudition. And that's been really brilliant for my acting. Actually, I've seen the ability for me to concentrate on the acting and not worry about money so much and be in the world, attend film festivals. That's been really, really beneficial for my acting as well. So in recent years, actually, I've had some nice opportunities and done some really nice work. So later on in my life, I seem to have had a little bit more success, which is wonderful. I'm really, really pleased about that. And I'm really pleased about how WeAudition helps other people as well. And I'm able to impart some of that knowledge and some of that experience, but also, read with other people and keep my skills sharp.
Mm-hmm. Darren, you're up.
Quite similar to Richard, actually. How I got started in the industry, I was doing amateur dramatics. I was doing the shows at school. I was doing weekend shows, so I was in my local drama pantomime group. That pivoted into professional acting because one of my teachers at school gave me and a friend the afternoon off to go and be extras on a commercial that his friend was producing. We were like, yeah, sure, we'll take the, I guess he realized that we were, interested in acting from our school shows. And that pivotal moment on that set, I met the lead actor who was a kid our age that had his own TV show. And we became friends because he just happened to live in our area as well of London. So we would literally hang out like teenagers do. And he took me to his acting class, who was also an agent. And then through that class, I joined a different class, similar, signed with that agent, got a commercial and was like, wait, you can do this for money? And I started auditioning and booking jobs when I was 16. So it wasn't that I never knew you could do it as a profession. I didn't know the inroad really. I mean, I was aware of it because I was doing these plays and theatre, but it just didn't seem that tangible until that moment. But once I was in a class with professional actors that were working on TV shows that I knew, and that agent put me forward for auditions, that was the key change, I think. It was getting the access to the opportunities. I often reference that story actually to anyone starting out because the day I got my first job, I was no better of an actor than the day before. And that was the transition of what made me a professional actor, And then, like Richard, I thought, well, I need to do something else as well because I know I'm from a small town in London. I know this profession is going to be tough. It gets drummed into you that you can't earn a living by it. So I chose graphic design as my other thing. So I went to college to study graphic design, decided against that after a year and went into university to study acting and film. Got a degree in film, came out. But by that point, I was already starting businesses because in my mind, I was like, I still need to find a way to support this journey that I'm going to go on. And not that there's anything wrong with it, but I personally didn't want to get a job in a bar or a restaurant because I saw that as being a level of commitment that I needed to do. So I would do odd jobs here and there. I did a lot of promotional brand modeling. Kind of what people call brand ambassador influence in these days, but back in the day it would be for direct to the public. I did a lot of that, and through that I started a company called Stuck for Staff, which was a worldwide marketplace of other brand ambassadors like myself. And that was I had a couple of companies before that, an events company. I was doing exhibitions and events and nightclub parties. But this was really the first foray into the internet space. I had no idea what I was doing, made it up as I went along. And that ended up being the biggest company in the industry. And it really changed the way the industry works. Really from a paramount level, it was just, it shifted how that industry does things even to today, the way that people book staff. So that's something I was very proud of creating. And it was very much based in community. It was a network of people, and I loved that we did events alongside that. And so from that moment, I've just always enjoyed business as much as I enjoy acting. I enjoy creating solutions. And so when the idea for WeAudition came up, Richard, I just met him a few years before on the film circuit, really, because he mentioned briefly, we have a mutual friend. I'd made a film with another actress who knew him, and she was coming out to LA for the film festival premiere of that film. And she brought Richard with her because he had made a film with her and he'd been to LA before. And that person is now a very, very well-known casting director. And she casts The Witcher and Wednesday and all these amazing shows. And she's the one that brought us together inadvertently. And when the idea for WeAudition came up, and I was thinking, I really want to do this company. I really want to start this company. But I don't want to start another company like my last one with no technical experience in the web. I can wireframe and I can graphic design and these things, but I can't actually code, and that's what Richard's amazing at. And so it was just a perfect partnership. And he told me never to ask him to do this, by the way. He said, don't. He said, when I found out he was in the internet space as well, and I said, oh, me too, I have an internet company. He's like, don't ever ask me to code anything for you.
I've mentioned before, yeah. When you do to anything, well, back in the day, it's less so now, but back in the day, if you did anything web related or internet related or video particularly, it was, oh right, what do you do? Oh, I'm an actor and I make websites or I do tech. Oh, can you fix my email? Yeah. That's what it was. Oh, you haven't got a website. Or someone says, oh, I haven't got a website. This is a long time ago. I haven't got a website. Can you make me one? And then it's like, well, yeah, I can, but even now it's difficult to, you can make a website on Wix or you can make a website on a template very, very easily now. It completely wasn't possible then, but the expectation was sort of like, oh, it's like making a Word document. You put a few things up and then it's online, but there was less so now, but there was a commitment involved in making someone a website, and also fixing someone's email was not something I was doing. That was not my job. The other thing was, oh, you work in computers, don't you? You get that for my family. I got that a lot for my family. Oh, you work in computers, don't you? Oh, no, I don't. I use a computer for my work, but I don't work in computers. I can't fix one. Well, actually, it turned out I could, because I started doing that. I needed to, because I was like, when you needed to edit something back in the day, you had to build your own computer to make something that was a decent amount of speed, and that was the only way to do it. But that's by the by. That's just, I'm quite techie. I like that. That was fun. That was never for work. but we've got a good mix of skills, I think, me and Darren now. Yeah.
To jump back on what Richard was saying, though, the great thing about this business is that we both do work as actors and producers and filmmakers still. And that's been the really exciting thing, is what he said earlier is, for me to be immersed in this industry fully as an actor and running WeAudition is really great, because like Richard said, we go to film festivals, we are immersed in the day-to-day stuff. I get to meet and know actors all the time. We run events for actors, and that really helps both sides of the job. It really informs how we're going to create the software and who we're creating it for. And then it informs my own career as well. And those, they go around in circles in a good way, which I think a lot of solutions for any industry, if you've got someone outside of the industry trying to create a solution from inside the industry or for an industry, which really, really happens in acting a lot. A lot of people that create software solutions for actors aren't actors. A lot of people that create products for actors aren't actors. They like to sell to actors. And that can be a little predatory, and at best, it's just not useful.
I think so both myself and Darren use it. Yeah, we create product we need. Both myself and Darren use it all the time. We're both still working as actors. I still get requests for auditions in. Darren does regularly get requests for auditions in. And we both use WeAudition. And now I would genuinely say that it is better than using someone else as a reader. I would never ask my wife, I would never ask if I had a flatmate or whoever, I would not ask them to read with me, because there's fundamental benefits of reading with someone online who's a professional, who you're paying for their time. There is a massive benefit. So for your audience, who's a second act actors who potentially had a career before and they're not scraping around for that every cent of rent, they're not scraping around for, I would wholeheartedly recommend it, that they are not compromising those relationships in their life. They're going online and they're reading with people, not only regularly, but they're for their auditions, they're reading with someone who's a good fit for the role that they're reading for, maybe a coach that can help them read those lines and get good or get up to speed quickly and well first, and then making those tapes with someone who's suitable for the role. They don't have to be perfect, but someone who is a professional actor who's not going to get bored, going to get annoyed, going to call in a favour, or all of those things. You know, if you're maybe an older actor and you've got a little bit of money, pay someone through a system like WeAudition, or pay our readers. They are fantastic. And I know that our readers are fantastic, so I wholeheartedly would never use someone in my family to read. I would always use... Good example for you. I recently shot a big movie. It's going to be out this summer that I can't talk about, but I read for that audition in the middle of the night, about 1 o'clock in the morning. I did my prep. I had this audition in. I've got a busy life, and I was like, I must get round to this audition, and I'm always keen on getting them done. I was doing some prep that afternoon, and it got to about 1 o'clock in the morning, and otherwise I would nowhere near have recorded that. But I felt like I could record. I felt the energy. I felt like, I think I know who this is. I want to put something down on tape. So I went on WeAudition, found Pete Luna, who's one of our readers. He was in New York. He got up, it was in his morning. We read that scene, and he gave me so much energy for that scene. He gave me... It was very beneficial. And one of the main reasons I booked that scene, I think, is because I had that ability to not only tape at night, but also had someone that could improvise and riff off of me. And they wanted one as per the script, plus one improvised around the script. Strange request. Sometimes you get strange requests. But for that, we did one as per the script, and then we improvised. And I didn't need to tell him what improvisation was. I didn't need to say, this is the work, because we'd read it through a few times. He got it. So he gave me lines, and I responded naturally. I said lines back, and he responded naturally. And we just did 15 minutes. I think we did half an hour, maybe. And I put some of those very early recordings that we did, those improvisations, off to the casting director, and I was, casting that role. So that is a real benefit, doing it at night, doing it with a professional, doing it with a coach, and not doing it with someone in your family.
And someone that actually enjoys it as well, because actually, from speaking about the reader you had just mentioned, Rich, I know that reader feels the benefit of reading outside of the payment. He's told me his game has improved. Actually, one of your former guests on here, Barry Clifton, you had an episode with Barry. Shout out to Barry. I think I saw Barry on social media the other day said, I know what a good audition is because I've seen 2,000 auditions in the last 2 years.
Yes.
Let that sink in. If you're an actor, and I sometimes teach, not teach classes, but I sometimes do guest seminars and stuff at exhibitions or actor events. And I like to go around the room and say, how many of you are committed to your acting? And all the hands go up. I said, how many of you have read 2,000 auditions in the last 2 years? And of course, no hands go up. And I asked the question, who do you think is going to be better at the job? The person that's done it 2,000 times? The person that's seen 2,000 different readers read? You've got to become an expert in your medium. And one way of doing that is watching other people work and I'm going to preface this, that are working. And I advocate classes, right? I think you should have class and training, but I'm not necessarily an advocate of traditional classes beyond a certain level. And the reason I say that is because a lot of classes will have varying degrees of experience in the class, number one. And the second thing is a class by its nature needs to keep you in class to sustain its business model. Okay, let that sink in for a second. They need you to stay in class. Whereas if you take it an analogy like a dating app, the dating app Hinge, for instance, their slogan is designed for it to be deleted. They want to get you off the app because that means you've got a successful relationship, right? So that should be your goal, is to get good and get the job. And I think one of the best ways of doing that is to work with people that are working currently. And that's what happens on WeAudition, is someone's requesting you as a reader. It's because they have an audition for something real, for something that is filming soon. They're in the mix.
I'd say also that people that are learning and starting out, it's a real opportunity to read with those people, to be the requester, to have scripts and sides, and if they're doing class or if you're not in class, finding things off the internet or writing stuff for yourself and trying it out with real people. To be that instigator, it's not necessarily, it's a marketplace. You know, people read for other people and then they instigate the reads as well. We call those actors and readers. The actors, it's really important to use it proactively as well as you know, passively. And I think the people that do that, there's some people on there that do stuff regularly, I think Barry included, that do his training, you know.
Scene study.
Yeah, scene study. They do a thing and read it aloud with a real person.
Look, the way I think about this is a lot of actors will go to the gym or you'll go to yoga class, right? If I was running a marathon, I wouldn't go to the gym just the day before. I need to put the work in. And if I'm in a lifelong training to be an actor, I should be reading scripts every day. And I pretty much do. I personally pretty much read scripts every day. That's another question to ask at these events, because you'll be surprised at the hands that don't go up when you say, do you read a script every day? Even like if it's like one scene, 5 minutes, do you do it every day? And the hands don't go up. And when I ask why, they're like, well, I don't have any auditions. And I'm like, but if you don't have a marathon, do you not go running? You get up every day and go to the gym. You're not in a bodybuilding competition.
I think for those actors starting out as well, if they're a bit later in life, they need to come up to speed with those things. If you step on set, you need to be line perfect. You don't get another opportunity. Now, back in the day, there might be an opportunity. You might go to a real life casting and they can tell if you know the lines or not. They can tell if you've turned up and messed it up 5 times. You don't have that with self-tapes. A lot of people are cast from self-tapes. They could have done it 20 times. And there is a bit, you know, you could do it and just send your best tape. And there's lots of talk about that. I won't go too much into that. And that's a whole separate conversation. But when you get booked, if you're an actor and you start to be in the professional realm and you get booked and turn up on set, you need to be good. You need to be a professional level. And that means you need to be able to take direction. You need to be able to take a line change. You need to be able to slot that in. If they say, don't say that there, here's a different line. I went to a film I was doing called Boogeyman, and I turned up on set. I didn't meet the director. I turned up on set, dark room, lights, went through a curtain. I didn't meet any of the cast. I said my lines. I did it. I was just a news reporter. And then the first AD came over and said, oh, actually, that doesn't quite work. Here's another load of lines. And they gave me a whole new script. And then I went off while they relit, just did a few tweaks, met the director, met the first AD, met loads of the crew. And I was like, oh, my gosh. And then 5 minutes later, I was on set and expected to deliver those lines. Very difficult. I'm pleased I did it. And that's because my muscle was strong.
The cold reading muscle. If you're on WeAudition every day, you're getting a great cold reading muscle. And actually, so getting a little topical right now with the current SAG-AFTRA strikes, which I'm sure you've all heard about. One of the things that is being put on the bargaining table about auditions and self-taping, there's a bit of controversy about getting paid for auditions, and then also about how much is expected for people to learn for an audition, right? One of the things that might come out of this is that cold reading is more important, because they might be not giving you the script so ahead of time or expecting you to do so much. So if the situation happens where producers start having to pay for an audition, if they want you to memorize, well, they're probably going to stop asking you to memorize and they're going to expect you to cold read, versus pay a bunch of people to memorize lines. So get that cold reading muscle in, you know, if not for the reason that Richard said, just because actually when you get on set, it's just good practice. You need to be ready. And I've actually experienced on set myself, especially in the last few years, a lot of actors not being ready. Mm-hmm.
You've mentioned this to me before, yeah.
They've not done the work before. So I think the other thing is they get the job and they go, oh, my audition was good. They don't do the work getting up to that. And if you're a little less experienced, you get on set thinking you've got a few goes and you don't.
I've been guilty of that in the past. And do you know what? I dream about that. Even now, I dream about turning up to set and not know my lines. That is death. You can't do that. And if you've never experienced it before... Sorry.
Yeah. Here's the thing. If you're getting shot from a few different angles, that might come across to an inexperienced person as you've got a few tries, but you don't. That's doing the same scene from a few different angles for coverage. And again, if you're coming in as the co-star or guest star, which a lot of people in the start of their career will be doing, your line is opposite the star or the lead. And guess what? Guess who they're going to shoot first? They're going to shoot you first to give that star or that lead the extra shot of the scene. So if you don't know your lines, and if the lighting's good and the technical is good, they're going to move on. They're not going to give you another chance to make it better. And that's what,
absolutely not.
Then that goes out there in the ether as your performance, and that's on you. And then it's actually really interesting. I interviewed an editor, the editor of Homeland. He has a great book called it's called
I have it.
How to Avoid the Cutting Room Floor, an editor's guide to actors, right? And he talks about the importance of this as well. He said when he's in the editing room, he can just as easily cut to you or away from you. And what you give him depends on what he does. So he said, when you've got that smaller role, there's ways you can be in it all the way through. There's ways you can be in it almost not at all, based upon your level of preparation and your performance.
So
don't waste that shot. Yeah.
No, well, and I think here's the biggest thing that I've noticed using WeAudition, and as an aside, my own personal story, and I told Richard this before you came on, Darren, is that I booked my first union role, got me my union card off WeAudition.
Yes, you did.
I did. Yes, I did.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And here's the biggest thing that I find helpful, and it's very similar to what you just said. As somebody who came into this later on in life who doesn't have a theater school background or like professional theater or film and TV training, is the classes I've been in, fabulous classes, great, wonderful. But when you're doing scene work, your reader is giving you nothing because they're trying to prep you for the audition, which is fine. Like if you're going to be an in-person audition, they'll have a reader there and they're not going to be they're just not going to give you much and you have to emote. So the biggest thing that was a shock to me was when I got on set and now I had another actor opposite me giving everything he has. It was a shock to the system because I was just, for some reason, my brain was expecting another just dead person being like, yes, tell me more about the relationship you have with your father. But here's this actor giving me everything he has because he's at work too. I'm at work. And it was a shock. So being on WeAudition with fellow actors, doing the work, reading with me and giving me everything, prepped me for future times on set, so I wasn't as shocked when there was another actor actually acting in front of me, because I had no experience with that in education.
Well, and here's the thing, guess what? That makes you a better actor, right? I hate this narrative that, okay, can you read with your boyfriend, girlfriend, mum, dad? Sure, right? And there's even casting directors that are out there that will say this because they don't want you to feel a pressure to do something for an audition. So they will say, it's fine, just get whoever you can to read. We're not listening to the other person, right? This is a common narrative. We're not casting the other person, we're casting you. But guess what? I act better with an actor, right? So even if I don't care what they say about the other person. I care about my performance. And in the same way that if I've got to drink a coffee in a scene, I'm drinking a coffee in a scene, I'm going to do that better than pretending, right? And so when you're doing your prep work, and I like to think very much about the who, what, when, where, why. Who am I? Where am I, right? What time of day is it? What temperature is it? That all affects my performance. I look around my room and I see my sofa and I see my chair and I see my plant. But if I'm in a Wild West saloon, I've decided that that's the bar and that's the stools and, I create my environment. That's my job as an actor, right? Why wouldn't I put the reader as somebody in that scene if I can? It just makes sense to enrich my scene for me, purely selfishly. I'm going to do a better job as the actor.
It's not examples, don't we, like a Texan.
Right. It's not that I can't.
Yeah.
Go ahead, sorry.
Sorry, delay. We use an example on WeAudition as if you want a Texan older lady in your scene, why wouldn't you go on and find a Texan? Not only would the accent be right, but their background and the way, their intonation and the way they say things might be more authentic to that character. And therefore, that might inform you. Whatever language, whatever accent you play for your own role, if the other role is that, well, it will inform it somehow. And that might be the flow of the scene. It might feel more authentic to the director when they watch it. All these little things all come in subconsciously.
I mean, just give your best self the best shot, right? But the other thing about it is, you know, common thing actors say is, I really love acting. Well, if you love acting, do it more. And doing it more is being, you know, if you're immersed in a scene with a good reader, that's so much more enjoyable. And the more you enjoy your job, the more you're going to do, the more success you're going to have at it. Simple.
One of my favorite things that you both alluded to is the idea of community. And I think that's a big thing. That's a big vein that travels through a lot of guests that I have on this show, because they didn't go through the theater school. They don't have their core group of people. They're entering into this industry a little bit lost, but excited, and need to build community. And I think that's what is so powerful about what you've developed, is because it's like for actors by actors. And, but it's developing a community of people, especially those of us who are not in big film and TV centers. People from all around the world wanting to do this and enjoying doing this and building a community together, supporting each other financially, psychologically, professionally. It's really, I've said it already, it's really powerful. I don't have a question. It's just a statement. It's just, I think it's such an important thing, especially for those of us who didn't have a community of actors to begin with.
Thank you. Thank you. And you know where that translates is on screen, right? We all are talking about greater representation on screen for life to look more like life. And giving opportunities to people in smaller areas, that's exactly it. It just doesn't mean you're not talented because you don't live in a big city. That's ridiculous. You can have talent all over the world. I remember one of our early members when we first started the platform was a girl in Indonesia. And she sent me a DM and she's like, I'm in this small town in Indonesia. I've always wanted to be an actor. Now I see it's possible. She's still a member today. Got thousands of reviews. And it touched me so much, because I'm like, if you have the internet, you have TV, you have film, and you go, I want to do that, but your geography doesn't allow you the resources to do it, but you've got the drive, the passion, the talent, all of that, then you should be allowed to pursue that. And I love the fact that this girl was able to connect in a community of professional actors that helped her, supported her, and it's so good to see her flourishing, And I actually met her in person at an event that we did at a film festival years after, It's wonderful to see.
I think we have a great community on WeAudition. Yeah, sorry, Janet. I think we have something that's been a real surprise to me. I think we made the technology to try and help each other initially, and then to sort of widen it out to a bigger community, and then just making it work was sort of the thing, making it work and making it bigger. But the community kind of hit me a bit like, whoa, this is so fantastic. We get to meet these people and work with these other amazing actors. And that's just been the best part of it for me. And we hear that every day. And now we've got a strike situation where the SAG-AFTRA directors are not doing stuff. And we're really trying to bring the community together and support them in different ways. We've got different features that we're going to bring out. Actually, next week, we've got one about the side hustles to try and promote each other's work. We've got some course information and other features that we're really, and also meeting casting directors that people are allowed to do. And community is really at the heart of what we do and what we strive to do. And I think it's been one of our inadvertent biggest successes, actually.
And, I've been in this business so long in both England and America, and it's undeniably a business of relationships. Right? It absolutely is a business of relationships. So you need to develop community. And I know a lot of older actors that have been in the business for a long time say this. And now I am one of those older actors that's been in the business a long time. I can wholeheartedly agree, is things get easier as you get more progressed in your career, because those relationships start to build. People start to know your work. They start to come back to you. And you hear over and over again on these, inspirational videos, it's just patience. I don't think it is just patience. It's patience and consistency. Okay, you can't just sit back and have patience. But if you keep on developing the work, keep on developing your community, yeah, absolutely, the relationships will come through because everyone's just rising up like this together.
We have people.
Oh, sorry. No, go ahead.
Sorry, I think I've got a delay. We have people meet up in real life as well. So people who have read with each other on WeAudition sometimes come to our events, often come to our events and meet up with other people in real life who they've never met, but they consider friends. So that is another thing that is about they're not reading with a computer they're not reading with someone who's not an actor. They're actually engaging with a community, a real actor, another real actor who they can champion and support and champion if they get a role. But also when they come to our events and things like that, they can meet up and chat and become real friends through the internet, through WeAudition, and that supports everyone. Everyone can rise together, as Darren rightly said.
And I think that's such a key part that I know when I first started in this industry, I was really surprised. And I know there's competitive people, of course, but I was really surprised at the collegiality and the support that I was getting. And I come from a medical background. I went through medical school where it is extremely cutthroat and competitive. And so I was expecting the same thing, right? And you hear this about the industry, right? Knock everyone down to get up. But what I really did notice, especially amongst those of us who are in like the working actor category, is there's nothing worse to do for your career, just for yourself and for your community, than compete with each other. And what I find is most of the actors that I interact with on WeAudition, who I've met in real life, et cetera, it does exactly what you do, right? Support each other, champion each other, because we have to. We literally have to. We won't get jobs. We won't get work. Robots will take over. We have to band together and cheerlead each other and fan club each other. Otherwise, we'll just get destroyed. And that's what the streaming services want. But I just think it's so thrilling, again, to, especially with the pandemic, everything being virtual, and then building this community worldwide. Yeah, the pandemic was awful, but it expanded my community. It didn't shrink, even though, in real life, I thought, I didn't see many people's legs for a while. It was all on Zoom. But it just expanded this global community of actors and realizing that these people really want me to succeed and I really want them to succeed. Was WeAudition a response to the pandemic or did it exist before? Like, how did you guys come up with this idea?
We existed 5 years before the pandemic. And
geez.
Yeah, we thought of the idea 2 years before that. So we did a sort of year of like figuring it out, then a year of building once we'd figured it out, and then launched in 2015, which is really interesting because when the pandemic hit, we were very well poised as it was already built. And we were able, the great thing about Richard and I working on stuff together is we're very nimble and we're very quick. And so when the pandemic happened, we were able to respond to that situation to make the technologies as absolutely useful as it could be for that purpose as well. It was the same idea, but we implemented different features and different ways of using it to help people en masse in that way at the time. We were doing a big initiative where we were allowing people to meet casting directors one-on-one like this. So they could carry on building those relationships that I just spoke about, things like that. So we're always very on top of where the industry is going and adjust very quickly to respond to it. So yeah, it was already up and running, and so that there were the original people that when new people discovered, and like, wow, this is amazing. The other people were like, hey, I've been on this for 5 years. And they felt like
welcome.
Yeah, they felt like founding members had this smugness about them. They're like, yeah, you've been missing out.
One of the cool things that I find, and you alluded to it about finding specific types of people for specific audition types.
Yeah.
So I am a reader on WeAudition, and I put in my little bio, I'm a medical doctor. If you need help with an audition that has medical, technical, scientific jargon, I'm your person. And so that's been the main thing that I've had people request. Say, I have an audition for Chicago Med, and I don't know how to pronounce any of this stuff. I don't know how to vibe as a nurse, doctor, paramedic. I'm like, this is where I'm like, or I have to be a lab technician, I have to read out all this stuff. I'm like, let's do it. It's so fun that you can find the specificity for people and the accents for people as well too, to just run through. And again, a lot of times we don't even like record their audition at that time. It's just spending half an hour together, just getting the jargon in their voice, in their mouth, in their head, so they can either tape later, come back later. Like you said, Richard, you're now ready to, you've prepped, now you're ready to do it. It's just, it's really, really cool, as opposed to being like, okay, I have all this medical jargon, I'm just going to Wikipedia it. Like, no, you can sit with an actual doctor who is also an actor. How fun.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah,
that's great.
I'm a big advocate, obviously, but thanks for saying it out loud. Yeah.
Are you able to tell me any of the cool stuff that you are doing coming up for WeAudition?
We have got some great, it's an expansion on what we did actually during the pandemic with the one-on-one meetings that we got. So should we talk about this, Darren? Are you happy to talk about it?
Sure. Yeah.
What we've got is a really nice feature on the system at the moment called the Green Room, where anyone can drop in, and we've got 9 spots. And the idea was that was like a place where people could hang out and talk about anything, but kind of publicly. You know, it wasn't a one-on-one chat. It was just a space to talk about what's going on, or if you had some time available, you could talk about that, like a green room on a film or whatever. It's a place where you're waiting for things to happen. So what we're doing is we're using that, and we've invited in some prominent people in the industry, some casting directors, some industry experts, and we're scheduling those in to certain times that people can drop in, members can drop in and meet them. So there'll be 8 actors and 1 casting director, for example, or director, and we're going to schedule those in over the course of the next couple of months and have regular spots in there where people can drop in there. You can watch it if you don't want to be involved, or if you want to be involved, you can take one of the seats and you can introduce yourself, talk, about what you're doing, or meet that person. It'll be a group chat. It's not a one-to-one, but hopefully it's like a workshop situation. That's another opportunity for those casting directors to get to know you, for you to get to know them, and to sort of expand that network, find out who's a good fit for you. So that's something we're doing. We're hoping that's going to be really, really useful for members of the community, because it's something that we get asked for, and it's something that we find is, people love that when they come to our mixes and they meet casting directors and they do auditions, and they've done they sort of have a regular contact with the cast director. That's always really useful. So that's one of the things. And we're also promoting each other's side hustles. If people have got other jobs, they earn money elsewhere. We're doing that amongst the community as well, so people can know that it's okay to do that. People have other things going on, and when people are not working and not able to work if they're SAG, then they could maybe support members and be supported in other ways. But lots of our members are not SAG. It's not only SAG.
Mm-hmm. But the side hustle thing is really as a way of supporting your other skills. So we have members that make jewelry, we have members that are artists, we have members that are executive assistants or virtual assistants, do social media. So the idea being is to keep that community going of, hey, if I need something, let me come first and foremost to my actor friends and see if they can solve that problem for me, Mm-hmm. And there's
a benefit in that as well. If people are actors, they know what it's like. If you get a job, you need to step out. I've never had a proper job. I've never had a salaried proper job ever in my life. But one of the reasons for that is because you get an audition, that has to be priority. And actually, from some of your second act actors, that must be a real privilege, actually. If they've had a career previously and they're able to pay the bills, or they've paid their mortgage or whatever, that is a real privilege that younger people do not have. So that's a real advantage, because younger people not only need to worry about their student debt, but they need to worry about paying the rent, maybe someday buying a house, someday having a family. Those worries are there inherently, and that feeds through to everything. So, if you're later on and maybe those things are sorted out, or maybe you've had the family or something like that, you've got an opportunity there to have a more concentrated time on your acting. And I think that really helps.
Totally. Do you have any advice, and you've given already some phenomenal advice, but any advice for, again, people who are coming into this later in life developing community. I mean, besides everyone should be on WeAudition, but like, do you have any advice, or even just people new to WeAudition, how to kind of explore, extrovert a little bit, who are a little bit shy, people who are new to the industry? Any advice?
I have a ton of advice about this. I mean, my passion is creating community. And there's some really easy ways to do it that doesn't have to be scary, okay? And so number one, yeah, you're right. Like, be on things like WeAudition, right? Now, that's about finding a common ground. Find people that share your passions, right? And so that's why WeAudition is a great place to start, because they're a bunch of people that you know are passionate about what you do, taking it very seriously and putting the work in. So again, I like dating analogies. It's a bit like if you're going on a date with somebody, you want someone that shares your values. Okay, that's a number one important thing for a good relationship. Same exists in your work. And so if you really are trying hard at this and want somebody that's committed to their career, come to a place where other people are committed. We always say this about WeAudition. If you don't want to work hard on it, there's no point being on it, right? Because you need to put into it, and it's about a bunch of people that are excelling at their craft. That's why we get casting directors coming in to do the things that we're doing, because they know that this is a bunch of people that are putting the time in, that are excelling at their craft, right? Versus just spreading the net wide. So that's one bit of advice is find your community. The next bit is be valuable, right? A lot of people treat that. I hate the word networking, because to me, the word networking feels icky because it suggests the usage of something, right? Just everything about that just turns me off. I call it building relationships. And so if you're building relationships in an industry, on a platform like WeAudition, or out in the real world, right, just think of how can I be valuable to that person versus how can I take from that person. Especially if you're at the start of a career where you need to learn, you think that it doesn't need to be a one-way street. If you're at the start of your career and you're speaking with somebody that's further on, whether it's someone similar to you, like another actor, or someone that you want to work for or work with in the future, you're attracted to them because they're at a place above you. So they don't need you, you need them. So find a way where they need you. Find a way that you can help them, because otherwise you come with the energy of it's a one-way exchange. All I'm going to do is take from you. I'm going to draw from you. And no one likes that. And so let's think of some practical ways to do that. One way is be the person that does the invite. Invite that person. Often a lot of people that you think are successful or busy or whatever are actually not as much as you think, because everybody thinks they're too busy. Everybody thinks they have got things going on. So if you reach out with an invite, maybe you've got a spare ticket to a screening, maybe you see on their social media that they were looking for some advice on where to get something for their pet. Be of value. Just always think of that. How can I help? How can I help? Don't worry about getting something back. It will come back to you, you know? And then my final tip is really host something. Host a party, host a dinner, host an event. If you don't want to take on the burden of that in terms of planning and cost, host a group hike, you know, do something for your community. Because when you are, and this is why we do the WeAudition parties, right? When you put something on for people, you give everybody a reason to come together. And then guess who they all know? Everyone in that room knows the person. So it's actually selfishly, it's building your reputation, right? If you go to an event and that's hosted by someone, everyone knows the host's name. So it's a way for you to build your status and your confidence up. And on that note, something I always try and do, and I love it when people do it for us, I always try and go and find out who put the thing on that I'm doing and thank them. Not about hassling them. It's not about taking them away from their duties. It's just acknowledging that, yeah, somebody made the effort. There's someone in here that made the effort to do this. Let me go find them and let me go thank them.
That's so powerful. And it's so simple, but it's so, like, we don't do it. But again, community. That's so, I love that. Oh my gosh. Now you got to top that, Richard.
I don't know if I can talk about what we tried different ways to sort of reach out and build our community and bring new people on board that would suit our community. And what's worked is exactly what Darren said. We have mixers, and we've had mixers all around the world, not just in LA. We have had lots there, but we've had mixers in Toronto. We've had mixers in London. We've had mixers all across Europe, in the Far East, in Australia. We've had all around the world. We've had mixers. And generally, they're places where we've got some members and we take a local person to co-host with us, and we have a mixer there. Darren usually goes and runs those. And they've been really powerful in introducing new people to the platform, but also the right people that want to be part of it as well. And that's really important to us. It's not for everybody. And I think the right people, as Darren said, want to work and they want to get on board. They want to get better and they want to hang out. They want to have a community, not through physical space, but online in the world. And that's what WeAudition has managed to do, bring together like-minded people. And they tend to be people who are very talented, very committed, and do well in the future. We're seeing that. We're seeing lots of our members do very, very well, being series regulars, big movies. It's a pleasure to see. And when everyone supports them, that's a really great thing to see.
And actually, to add to your point there, Richard, one of the things I love to do is empower someone else, okay? And so Richard mentioned when we do an event somewhere else in the world, I bring on a co-host. And that will either be a member of WeAudition that I've seen really doing well on the platform. It could be a local famous person, as in an actor or a director or something, someone with some credibility in the space. And I'm doing that for two reasons. It's one way is empowering somebody to be a community leader, right? I've said to them, you don't have to do anything. We're going to put your face on the flyer and you can invite your friends, not your friends in the industry. So it is a really low effort way for them to be involved and be that person that puts that invite out, that says, hey, come to my event, right? We'll take care of all the work for you, but you can be empowered to do that. And it's really interesting to see because suddenly that person is being the person I just spoke about. It's the person that people are thanking for that invite, and it's raising their status. But they're also bringing us really great people that are like-minded for them. So it works both ways. It really helps us out. It helps the community out, and it helps that person feel valuable. So it's a great idea. And again, to piggyback on the last comment, if you're feeling you're a little lost and you don't know how to build that community, find someone else like you and do it together. Empower each other to do it.
One of the questions I always like to ask kind of when we get closer to the end, because we usually get into some pretty deep stuff, is a more fun one. Do you have any fun, either on-set stories yourself or any favorite WeAudition stories?
Go ahead, Rich.
Thanks. I'm sure I've got loads of WeAudition stories. In what sense? Give us some. I've got probably a ton. Darren's probably got a ton. Give us some. Give us some hints or some pointers to spark.
If there's any funny ones, like again, one of my favorite WeAudition stories was being a reader, again doing a medical one, and they're like, oh, it needs to be with a British accent. Can you do a British accent? I'm like, oh, not well, but we'll try. But we just tried to work through it together, and I've never spoken medical jargon with a British accent before. But it was an absolute riot. It was so fun. And I'm pretty sure she booked it. She was an actor in, I think, Georgia. So it was like her Atlanta accent, my Canadian accent, all of us trying to do a British accent, but medical.
Sounds like
great
disaster. I remember so many people online, and I've just had so many great people read with me. I can't think of anything off. Darren, there must be something. It's that there's so many.
Yeah,
I can't think of one offhand.
I don't have a fun. It's not a particularly funny story, but I have a nice one. I was living in Hawaii, and I got an audition there for a film that I can't talk about because we're striking. But I did this audition with a WeAudition reader. I booked the job, and then the cast director called me a couple of days later and said, "Hey, the director really likes you. and wants to increase the size of your role, you know? And this was a director I really wanted to work with.
Okay.
Like, he's an amazing director. So I was like, okay. And they said, so there's a bigger role that he would like you to do. Are you interested in that? And I'm thinking, like, wait, what's the catch? Because of course I am. But then I was like, you know what, can I get the full script? I really want to see if this is a different, like not only just a bigger role, but one that I would be more comfortable doing. So they sent me the full script, and I liked the role better. So then they were like, okay, well, great. So do you mind just putting that one on tape, though, as well? And so I thought, so suddenly I feel like I've got the job, and then I'm now auditioning for a different job. Am I going to lose the last role if I do this? So anyway, I put the next one on tape really quickly. I just thought, now let's just get it done and get it over. And the nice thing is that they said to me, yeah, great. We're booking you for that role. Wonderful. A couple of days later, they reached out again and said, hey, we're really struggling to find someone to fill your old role. Do you know anyone? And I'm like, well, of course. I mean, what do you need? And they said, someone just with your acting sensibility. And I was able to offer that connect to like 20 different actors that I know. And quite a few of them were off WeAudition. People that I'd read with. I was able to DM them and reach out and be like, hey, look, this is going on. Send the tape to that casting director. Well, you know, what happened was that role ended up being expanded again and split into 2 roles. So two of my colleagues got a job as well. And they got to fly out to Hawaii and shoot on set with some amazing people. So that's a real nice example of when you just do the work, you know, when you go and build those relationships, it makes it easy for someone to recommend you.
Oh, yeah. What a fabulous story.
Really nice. Yeah, really. And actually, maybe that links quite well into talking about our ones to watch as well. We do a program that we take some people that are WeAudition members or people that have championed the platform or do lots of stuff on WeAudition, and we take them to film festivals. We've done it at a few now. We've done Cannes a few times. We've done Toronto. We've done TIFF and lots of other film festivals. And that is what we try and do is we thought about what would be the best experience you could have as a newcomer. Now, that could be as a second act actor. It could be as a young actor. It could be someone who's just starting to take off. These aren't people who have done nothing. These are people who we see future A-list in. We see something brilliant. They're championing the platform. They're working hard. They're doing the work. And they've got something. And they're doing work. So they're on the start of their career, but going to make it big. We think, you know, potential to. So what we do is what we thought, what would we want? What did we never have that was possible? So we thought, we'd like paid accommodation somewhere, you know, because it's so expensive. You go to TIFF, it's so expensive to stay somewhere nearby the lighthouse. If you go to Cannes, it's so expensive to stay just off the Croisette or, you know, even within a bus distance, it's expensive. So, right, we want a nice place to... Community, we want to get a few people all together. We want everyone to have their own rooms. Great. We want everyone... We have a publicist so we can get into events and parties and not have to do that or blag it or something like that, so we get a publicist in. We want a Getty photo shoot, so we've got some... I know for me, when I started out, it was a really big deal to have photographs on Getty because people search and they come up. And so I said to Darren, look, we need to be doing this. People, we need to be getting them so they've got their own Getty for the first time. They've got a Getty credit. So we get a Getty photographer that comes and stays with us and does a photo shoot so they get those credits. We put everyone in a house and we take them to events and we give them a good time at the thing, and they can network. They can go to the screenings, the panels. They can meet people, start those relationships or meet people and solidify relationships that they've started already. So that has been a really special thing. And some of the most brilliant people I've met in my life have come about just from meeting people that we thought were special. Not friends, just people that we thought were potentially great future stars. Bring them together and then staying in a house. And you really get to know people by hanging out and sometimes going to parties and drinking a little bit and hanging out and partying a little bit. But mostly work. It's been really fantastic. And that's been part of WeAudition. So we're able to do that because of the platform and the people that we meet on there. That's something we've done as sort of an outreach program, really.
The platform really supports that. It's like the community base and you know, the way that we run the platform allows us to do that and bring those new people up. And it's really interesting what you say there, Rich, because it's really noticeable. Those people that we've taken, and there's been about 40 of them, I think, so far over the last few years, they're the ones that are really, they're putting the work in, and you see it. You see it. And that's how we find them, is because it's just undeniable, their effort and their talent and their commitment to, and this is really, really interesting thing, is just, it's not just their commitment to the craft, it's their commitment to supporting other people. That's what shows, is them championing other people, championing actors, just being good people in the industry. And you mentioned this right at the start, Janet, was it's not competitive. We're not in competition with each other. You know, if I go for a role, yeah, I'm in competition with those 15, 20 actors that are at the final stages of that role. I don't even see myself in competition with the 3,000 but yeah, we're going for that one job. So I understand the level of competition, but actually I don't think it is like that, because the person that gets it is right for whatever reason. And even if I get really close to it, I don't see it as rejection or a loss. It just wasn't my job, right? And I don't see that actor as being competitive. And what's really interesting, actually, to link back to that last story, is one of the actors that got that job that I recommended in Hawaii was an actor that I go up against all the time. We constantly go up for the same roles. That's how we know each other. And we got to both do a job in different roles. So if that doesn't prove that it's not really competitive, nothing will.
Yeah. Something really cool that somebody once told me was, if, like, again, it's the whole, like, it wasn't meant to be, it's not meant to be, but also you were not the right fit for the role, and therefore the movie wouldn't be as good if you were in the role. And so it's all about, and I know that's kind of a negative Nancy thing to say, because we're all like, I can be anything, but like, no, if you didn't get the role, and the person who did get the role, they are the perfect person for that role and will make the movie better. You were not that person, and the movie would not be, quote, as good. And so, but to champion that person, and especially in a small market like Canada, you need to realize that, like, that movie's now going to be perfect because of the person who is in it. And the choice was made, and that choice is perfect. I know some people are like, I don't like that sensation. I'm like, that works for me because I don't like that sensation of rejection. Being like, no, they saw it and they were like, not the perfect person for the role. Here's the perfect person for the role. But the roles that I do get, I'm perfect for.
Something that I champion, and I will continue to champion as I get older, I think it's more important, is making your own stuff as well. I had a conversation with Darren when I was in LA, and I thought, are we auditioning for this other stuff, other people's dreams, other people's... Should we be making our own stuff? Should we be putting together? And it's something I've done a little bit over the years, and I've always found a benefit in it. It's always shoehorned in around other things. Can I make this work? Can I do this? But I've always found a benefit from making my own stuff. You design a character, write something, make something that is your ideal character or what you want to do, and then other people may follow that, or that might grow into something else, or you might find an audience with it. It's all about exploring. So rather than, just always saying, pick me, pick me, pick me. Oh, great. Yeah, they've got the right role. Maybe there's an opportunity for especially second act actors to think about what they want to do and where they can fit in and what value, to talk about what Darren said, that value they can add as a character or as an interesting persona, and then build that into something that maybe will find an audience. And do you know what? If it's not a commercial success, maybe that doesn't matter. Maybe that's fulfilling that need you have as an actor. Maybe that's fulfilling some itch you've got to scratch. And that's all beneficial, and that all feeds in. And maybe that might be an IMDb credit that gets you your next IMDb credit from something else. So they feed into each other. But if you've got the ability to make stuff on your own or with your own local community, I'd really advise doing that.
Totally. Yeah. Do you both have any final words of wisdom or advice? This has been filled with that. But do you have any final advice or words of wisdom?
Mine is going to be just be going out there and supporting to each other. It's another tough time like the pandemic. So if you haven't, sorry, it's not like the pandemic. That was a very different experience. But in terms of how people might be feeling isolated or not knowing a direction right now, especially if you're in a worldwide community, be supportive to each other, reach out to each other, and just keep discussions going, keep work going that you can do, and I mean, work between yourselves, and just I think it's important to just understand what everyone's going through right now, whatever side of the coin they're on, and also your local community, your local businesses, if they're affected by things, just be compassionate and be empathetic right now.
I want to reiterate that, and I want to say stick with it as well. There's some things that have really helped me over the years, and I've stuck with it. And some years I've not wanted to, and sometimes I've really not wanted to, but I'm really proud that I have. And some of the things that I do is look after my mental health. There's some things that I like doing, like journaling, and there's some meditation stuff that's very good for people to look after their brain, and exercising and making sure that your body and your mind is in a good place. It's really, really important. And I just say to everyone, if you're starting out or if you've been in it a long time, stick with it, because it's not necessarily something you do for your complete. It's something we do because we love it. And try and keep that love and keep looking after your body so you can continue doing that and sticking with it. Because if you want to do it and you've chosen to do this for your life, then it's obviously worthwhile and you should stick with it and never give up.
Love it. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. And thank you, Darren and Richard, for being my guest this week. Thank you so much for what you've created. Thank you for WeAudition. Thank you for this wonderful platform, this incredible community of actors that I have met and benefited from. If you all are interested, head on over to WeAudition and check it out. I am over there as a reader. If you ever need any help with your medical sides, I'm here for you. That's my jargon. That's my second language. Happy to help you out. I hope you will all tune in next week for another episode of Second Act Actors. Bye.